So I'll be 100% honest with you guys, when Spellbound was first released, I was kinda skeptical about it. At first I actually thought it was really mediocre and not even worth main decking or side decking because it just felt like a worse D barrier. And on the surface, this is kinda true. I mean, it is a weaker D barrier, but there is a catch as it is a quickly spell card and allows you to do things that D barrier cannot do. So in other words, it does have some really nice applications when you're going second, but when you're going first, D-Barrier is always better. So basically, Spellbound prevents all of your face-up opponent's monsters from being tributed or used as fusion, synchro, xyz, or link materials for this turn. It only affects monsters that are currently on the field, so if your opponent summons more and more monsters, they're not going to be affected by Spellbound. Unless you have multiple copies of Spellbound, because it is not once per turn. But honestly, the fact that it doesn't cover everything, since your opponent can keep summoning monsters, is not the end of the world, and I will be explaining why. This card covers so many summoning conditions that it's really good against a lot of decks. And it'll also be able to shine where other board breakers and other kind of staples won't, and it's not going to be because of its power level, but rather because of its wide range of applications. And also there's a lot of really cute and niche applications for Spellbound, such as preventing your opponent from using enemy controllers since he can't tribute his monsters. Do keep in mind that you're going to have to use this preemptively because tributing a monster with enemy controller is a cost. But yeah, Spellbound does work here because it prevents monsters from being tributed, not just used as tribute summons. But honestly, more often than not, this card will pretty much just be the best against Flunderies to prevent them from summoning like Ryza on your own turn or using the Dreaming Town to Book of Eclipse everything. But it's insane against the rest of the field too, starting with Purely. If your opponent tries to go into the X Purely Noir using the Purely Yeep on the Baby Noir, you can actually chain Spellbound, and it kind of acts as a Forbidden Lance or Book of Moon in a way. Basically, your opponent will not be able to use the Baby Noir as an Xyz material, and that way he won't get an extra draw 2 or 3, and most importantly, won't be able to get all those spins any boss monster. That way you can actually cover that pesky deck without having to play some super specific cards like Xyz Encore. Now, anyone who plans on playing IP Masquerena and link it off into like SPL Knight, for example, would have to be aware of the existence of Spellbound. And this is also relevant for Unchained because they do have Unchained Soul of Rage, which is basically another IP Masquerena. Now, one of my favorite applications for this card would have to be against Centurion. They will always end on Legatia, and then they will be special summoning the Primera as well as the Emet6 or the Trudera on your own turn, and then they will try to synchro summon using the field spell. If they can actually get there, they can summon the Crimson Dragon, and then the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, and then you're screwed. But with Spellbound, you can actually prevent your opponent from synchro summoning using the monsters currently on the board, which matters because it's not like your opponent can try to synchro summon again afterwards. And thanks to that, you will be saving yourself from annoying stuff like Hard Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, which means that you can actually play the game and destroy them because they do nothing else. So fusion decks usually don't really lose to Spellbound because they can fuse using monsters from their hand or face down. With that said, Spellbound can actually be pretty cute against the branded Chimera deck. The goal is to chain it to their Chimera fusion so that they have to summon something and they have to use monsters from their hand. So in other words, they absolutely cannot summon Guardian Chimera, which is exactly what you want. And you might actually put them in a really awkward position where they have to use cards they didn't really want to use in order to fusion summon. But you know, honestly, at the end of the day, the card doesn't really have to do any more than that when you factor in the fact that it's already good against Purely and Centurion and every other deck. It is a mid-level card in terms of power, but in terms of covering a lot of ground, it is absolutely fantastic. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, so guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.